that kind of a doctor.
So we are very, very, I'm pleased, I'm happy and excited to have my friend and longtime teacher, Erica Toast, Dr. Erica Toast, here with us today. She's Dr. Erica is a graduate of, Dartmouth Medical School, and a longtime practitioner in Santa Barbara. She has her own private practice where she helps middle-aged men with issues revolving around their sexuality.
And everything else.
As well as everything else. And so thank you very much for joining us, Dr. Erica.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here, Chrisman. This is going to be fun.
So let's go ahead and jump into this. You know, I talk to lots of different people who are writers of different kinds of books. And so I always like to start by talking about the last book that you wrote, which in your case was called Sexy Prostate, which is a very unlikely title and certainly a topic that I had never heard of before your book. And you know, it's been very, very enlightening. So how did you get into that as a subject area? And maybe you can just kind of tell us the story of the origins of that.
Yes. So being passionate about the prostate, you know, one of my subtitles, my personal subtitles is Prostate Pleasure Princess or Prostate Pleasure Priestess or something, although I've added prostate health something to that. And the thing about being passionate about the prostate, it is definitely not something that you choose. You definitely don't finish medical school at age 27 and say, I think I'll be passionate about that prostate. It's more like it chooses you. And so over the years, I just got more and more information about how important prostate health was and how under-informed men are about it, and their partners too, and how easy it is and how fun it is to do prevention. And so I decided to write this little book. And at some point I came up with the name Sexy Prostate because I just thought it would freak everybody out. And how could I resist that? And people said, well, it's not going to play in Peoria. And I don't know if it plays in Peoria. People do buy it, which is kind of funny because I don't do a lot of PR for it.
Well, it's in the sense that it is very very specific. That makes for a great topic. You've somehow, though, you told the story, but somehow you avoided actually saying like what led you into that as a topic.
Okay. Let's see. So I think in medical school it was just like one more organ. There wasn't anything special interesting, and during general practice and other work there really wasn't. But in my personal exploration of Tantra and the sex positive world, but really about Tantra and the different aspects of sexuality, that's when I realized there's something there with the prostate. And as I started learning about how one can touch the prostate and how it matters, I also realized, sort of to my surprise, that people didn't know this. You know, people just don't know this. Plus, I also didn't realize what a weird topic it was. Before I went to publish my book, I actually asked my kids' permission because I didn't want to embarrass them unnecessarily, and luckily they're okay with that. So what's happened more and more as I talk to patients, and as I talk to people, I realize that the state of a man's prostate really determines a lot of his sexual well-being and general well-being. And people don't plan ahead. They don't plan ahead and say, what kind of prostate do I want to have in 10 years? And what are the implications of that? And so that is amongst my missions.
Well, great. Well, you said don't know about this, but what do you mean about this? Like, what is the big deal? Let's say I'm tuning in and I know nothing. I know I'm a man. I have a prostate, but I don't know anything beyond that. Like, tell me, what is it? Why does it matter?
Okay. So I did an informal survey once a while back where I asked a bunch of random guys, how do you feel about your prostate? And the young guys all sort of said, ooh, please. And the old guys all said, well, old, like my age guys said, oh, nothing but trouble, nothing but trouble. So, I sort of feel like, whoa, this gland has a bad image. It needs to have its image improved. And what's really amazing is, for example, it can be a lot of pleasure for a man. It can be a source of more intense ejaculatory orgasm, and it can be pleasure in and of itself. And with the pleasure comes better function and less of those problems in older age that guys tend to get.
How does that work?
I have no idea.
Well, okay. So maybe it's the wrong way of asking the question. How is it that the pleasure that this gland gives to a man, how is that somehow related to health? Like, what's the connection?
Okay, I get what you're saying. Well, and in fact, and I think the mechanism for the benefits of the prostatic massage is increased perfusion and just sort of, clearing out stagnant stuff. But I think you can liken it to a back massage. If you have some back problems, a back massage can feel really good, and also it's good for the muscles and helps you relax. So I think for the prostate, increasing the circulation and stimulating the little tubules with the liquid, the seminal liquid, is a good thing. But and this is where it's so interesting. The prostate, I am so nuts and bolts. People know this about me. I want information. I want the information clear. I want scientific, nothing woo-woo. And yet, when I do a professional, in my office, I do this as a procedure. Nothing sexual about it. Bright lights, white coat, nothing. Genitals do not get touched. There's no sexy energies, just a massage. It's a procedure. However, afterwards, the guys have a lightness in their step and a glow to them that it is almost in a way mystical. It's like they've been received. That part, the male pelvis, has been found to exist, and it's okay. It's not being ignored here.
Nice. So to kind of belabor the obvious, what is to you obvious, but is like to a lot of other people not, what is the actual function of the prostate?
Yeah, it actually it makes a lot of the fluid that's in the ejaculate.
Okay. So
that's really it.
When you're talking about stimulation and sort of moving the fluid around, so it's that fluid that if you're either not ejaculating very often, or maybe even if you are, fluid, even if you are, so then the fluid is not necessarily getting moved out of there, kind of regularly, unless there's some sort of stimulation or massage.
It seems to be. And the tricky part with the prostate is the urethra goes through it. So the tube that goes from the bladder to the outside happens, for no good reason that I know of, it just happens to go through the middle of the prostate. And so as the prostate gets a little bit enlarged and a little bit bulky, it can push on the urethra, and that's why guys have trouble peeing with an enlarged prostate. But we should start talking about sex more. People usually get bored with prostate after a while.
Okay, well, I mean, this very much leads into that. For example, the next thing that I was thinking of that's kind of curious that I notice as a man is when I have an erection, I can't pee. Like that must is that
Yeah,
somehow
that's
is that
different.
somehow related?
Different
That's a different.
mechanism.
Oh, okay. Has
Good
nothing to do.
question. Good observation. Great call, but no cigar.
Okay. All right. Well, my vast knowledge of anatomy is coming to the fore.
Well, you're a guy. You've done your experiments, of course. So I want to say one thing. I'm supposed to be plugging my Sexy Prostate book. So, and I want to say something that actually does seem to matter. And that is the topic. Okay, so first of all, to all the men and women who are on here, I want to make guys are into it and some guys aren't. Well, over the years, it has become abundantly clear to me that basically every man is curious. They may not want their prostate massaged right this second, but basically every man is curious about it. So let's just assume that, okay? And then, but they're not going to say that if somebody's going to make fun of them, which would be really easy to do by a partner who didn't realize, how important it is. And so what happens is people buy the Sexy Prostate book and they tell me 6 months later they've never actually opened it. And so what happens is, I think the topic is sufficiently bizarre and inflammatory that you can't sort of say, okay, I'm going to read that prostate book today. So what I've learned, what works, is I recommend that people buy 2 versions of it. If they're more of a visual person, they would buy both the Kindle and the paper version. Because what happens is with the Kindle version, you have the portability and you have the privacy. You can read it in privacy and nobody knows. Mm-hmm. But with the paper version, you have it lying around. And sooner or later, if it's lying around, you or your partner are going to open it. You're going to open it to page 37. And it's going to say, like it or not, your butt really is part of your life. Actually, a very important part of your life. And you're going to say, oh, okay. And you might read another paragraph and you might realize that it's okay to read this and it's okay to do this. So I tell people, if you're an auditory learner, get the audio book and the paper book. And that way, for 20 or 30 bucks, you're much more likely to get something that's going to really impact the quality of your life.
So a question about the different versions. The paper version is the one that has pictures in it. Is that right?
No pictures.
Oh, is it the Kindle version?
They're all exactly the same.
Oh, I thought you said one of them had like diagrams or something.
No, I didn't mean to say that.
Oh, okay. My mistake. So I just want to say that from my experience, inhabiting the male body, I would say to men that are listening, if that don't know about the prostate. I actually do know a little bit. It's all really because of you that I know about it historically. But I would say that half of the fun of sex, like half the pleasure, comes from prostate stimulation. In other words, if I'm having sex without prostate stimulation, it's about half as fun as if I am. So if I am having it at the same time that I'm also having intercourse, I will have twice as much pleasure. So it's like if there's something you could do that would automatically boost your pleasure, like double it, would you do that? I'm asking my fellow men, right? It's like, would you do that? We've all heard about the G-spot. We've all heard about multiple orgasms that women can have and all this stuff. But what about men? It's like, exactly. and it's kind of assumed that men don't really, especially in the tantra world, it's like my job is really just to please the woman, and at a certain point that kind of sucks, right?
Right.
So
exactly.
And so I mean, if I could just get on my platform for 5 seconds, I would just say, do this. do this thing of like get involved with stimulating your prostate, because it will literally, in my experience, make sex twice as fun.
Mm-hmm. And you're talking about the process, of having sex, the sexual pleasure, which is, well, that's good enough right there. That's really great. And then the other part to also remember is, for a lot of men, it intensifies the ejaculatory orgasm. And you don't have to have a finger or a toy on the prostate during the orgasm to get that. There's like a window, and I don't know how long it is, that after the prostate stimulation, if there's an ejaculatory orgasm, it often is more intense. As one guy put it, it's more draining in a good way. I'm assuming that's a good thing for guys.
Yeah. Well, and just to be like perfectly clear, because people are probably wondering, well, like, how are you stimulating your prostate while you're having sex? If you had to use your hand, it would be like obviously extremely difficult.
Well, no, you can. The thumb is usually the best way to go, but it's very tricky. Yeah.
Yeah. So but the other option is to use like some stimulating dildo or something like that, which is a word that I actually hate.
Yeah, but there's, I think at times we've mentioned that honeycomb toy, right? Sort of a honey or a honey dipper kind of shaped toy that has a handle. But in general, something that works well for men is called an aneros, ANEROS. It's a company.
Not familiar with that. What is that?
It is the company. I should have one here. Okay, I'm sorry. It's a little white, sort of a butt plug thing that you put inside your anus, and it has little wings that on the bottom to keep things from sliding inside and getting lost, which is what you always want when you're going to put something inside your butt. And it is shaped so that when a man contracts his pelvic muscles, it pushes onto the prostate. And there's sizes, so you can start small and work up. And again, they're not cheap, but they really do the job. And some guys like to have them in when they're having intercourse. Some guys like to have them in when they're masturbating. Some guys just have them in for a while for the for the health benefits. And of course, my book is about how the partner does it with hands for the man. It's instructions.
Yeah. Well, so that's obviously a wonderful thing for men that have women that are willing to do that.
For men. Mm-hmm.
For men that are willing to do that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so, do you want to say anything more about that, particularly with this book? Like, yes. You want to give like a few nuggets about how to do that?
Well, what I'd like to say is, if I were president of the United States, just talking about a topic that's up for a lot of people these days, I would use my power to try to persuade women to realize that they could spend 10 minutes a month on their partner's prostate, and their life in 10 years would be so much better than if they had not. And literally 10 minutes is all it takes. We're not talking about a tantric 2 hours. It could even be 4 minutes, depending on how you work it out. In 10 years, he's not going to be getting up 5 times a night and waking you up. He's
right.
He's not going to be running to the bathroom all the time when you're in the middle of the Louvre or something. And he's going to feel a lot younger and healthier, and his sexual function will be better. So it's an investment in your partner's future health.
Very nice. So we've talked a little about how the prostate is involved in pleasure. So how is that? What is the role of that in health? How does it help, and what does it help specifically?
Well, it's just when the prostate gets big, you know, there's all the peeing problems and the sexual function problems. And if the prostate gets massaged, those are less.
And as I understand it, the kind of enlarging of the prostate is sort of a natural phenomenon of aging. That's like it as men get older, that just
I don't know
happens.
how natural, but it is. It definitely happens to almost everybody, to some extent, at some point.
Yeah. Okay. So this is like a fairly fairly huge issue for men, even though
Huge. Yes, it's just like people don't get this. You know, global warming is huge, but prostate is
well, I may not be able to cure global warming, but
here's something you can do.
Here's something you can do for yourself and the world.
Yeah, you know, we should check. Can you see if there's questions, Crispin?
Yes, I'll check really quick.
Okay.
I saw a few comments come in. No open questions at this moment. So just to remind everyone, you can type questions in into the Q&A box, and then we'll be able to address them as we go. So you know, maybe all of our listeners are so advanced that they already know all of this.
They must be, if they know enough to be on this mailing list. So, Kristen, can we bridge the prostate to sex by talking about this miracle drug that's good for both and good for the rest of you too?
Oh, why not? That sounds like a great segue.
I should own stock in that company.
So, what is this miracle drug we're talking about, Erica?
Okay, so the people who are listening to this, who are part of my men's email course, my apologies to them because I just wrote a whole essay for them about this. And for the rest of you, my men's email course is this wonderful year-long course where you get all kinds of information about optimizing your sexual selves for only like $79, I think. And you find me on my website. Also for questions, email me via my website, which is drerikamd.com, drerikamd.com. And
if I could just say just a little bit, because I actually read that email that you wrote about this miracle drug, and it was exhaustive and wonderful. Like, it really, I knew almost nothing about this miracle drug that we're about to talk about before this email, and it was very detailed. It was very thought-provoking, and I learned a lot. So thank you for that. And that was just one email. And you do them how often?
Every 2 weeks. So there'll be 26 total.
Every 2 weeks.
The last one I did exhaustively about manscaping. So you're appealing to the women or to your partners. So I apologize for being so hetero-focused. I am afflicted with heterosexuality. So that is, I will just stand up. However, you know, and the fact is, gay guys seem to be a lot more informed about these things than hetero guys. So actually part of my mission is to bring this information to straight men. So the thing is, so everybody's heard about Viagra, and I think Viagra is an amazing drug. And then Cialis is the form of Viagra that lasts longer. Viagra, it takes half an hour to an hour to come on and lasts for a few hours. Cialis takes an hour or two to get started and lasts for a couple of days. And so both Viagra and Cialis have been around for a long time now, for decades. And Cialis, you know, there have been a gazillion prescriptions all over the world. I mean, literally, you know, you can imagine. I mean, everybody over 50, you know. Mm-hmm. And then they started noticing all these benefits of Cialis. More and more. And I'm just going to read them because they are just sort of unbelievable. And this is with a concept called daily Cialis. So you take the Cialis every day. Health insurances and Medicare have it approved for 5 milligrams per day. But the studies show that the improvements are dose related, which means more is better, which we all love. We all love to take more and have things be better. And well, first of all, it helps with erectile dysfunction. It makes guys be able to have better function during sexual intercourse. However, it also helps the prostate problem. A few of my men actually find that if they take it in the evenings, they have fewer bathroom trips during the night. Most of them don't notice what time of the day they take it, but it definitely helps their prostate symptoms. And also, probably it helps mood. It actually helps with depressive moods. And this is something for the women in the audience and for me to say I'm embarrassed in front of the men, that it took me a while to get that, if a man starts to have the odd spontaneous erection again, if his body responds to a sexual vision or thought, oh yeah, he's going to be less depressed, he's going to be happier. For men, sexual energy is life energy. It's a little different. Women don't always realize that. The other thing, it helps with blood pressure. And I'm thinking about that. We should consider making that a first-line drug for blood pressure, not having be one of the nice side effects, because most blood pressure drugs are bad for sexual function. So this would be good. And some people know the story of how Cialis was discovered, or Viagra it was an anti-high blood pressure drug. To begin of the testing period, they realized they were onto something totally different. It actually supposedly helps some with cholesterol, and interestingly, we're all about inflammation. So it might help with all kinds of things. And studies show that relationships are better when there's daily Cialis on board. And then the last thing is, for those of us who are into this kind of thing, it helps you perform better. I'm not talking about sexually, although probably that too. I'm talking about like mountain climbing or skiing at high altitudes. And I actually did a little experiment on myself last week at Mammoth. Longer every day.
Okay, that's cool. We have a question, but before I ask that question, I wanted to ask another question of my own, which I think is probably different than this question. And my question is there a difference between daily Cialis and like regular Cialis?
And recreational?
And what is it?
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I don't know what the other one is called.
Yeah, I don't either. So I want to say two things about Cialis that actually you reminded me of, Chrisman, last time. And that, thanks to the Puritanism that is still so present inside our brains, people are convinced that if there's a pill they take that does something good for them, they're gonna pay. You're gonna have to pay. And, like sooner or later, the effect will wear off and then you can never take it again. And or you'll get addicted. And all those things are wrong. All those things are wrong. There's no habituation. You will never need more to get the same effect. Although at time goes on, and as you get older, sexual function, the underlying sexual function might decrease and you might need more and you might also tolerate more. And the other thing is there's no addiction. You can always go off it. You will not have a rebound. You will not have a problem. So, so this is, especially the new age guys, there are a couple of side effects, but they're just side effects, and there's ways to deal with them. But it's just a little bit of back pain or indigestion, and for a few very rare individuals, those are a problem.
So that's actually great. I'm glad you said that, because kind of in the back of my head, I'm going, well, right, I'm probably going to have to take more and more, or I'm probably going to get off of it. And because you're right, that's exactly where my mind goes, is that's what you're going to have to do. I'm gonna see what this question is real quick. Okay, so this is maybe less of a question than sort of a comment. So, like, what do you think about getting together a group of friends, like a book reading group, discuss your book, and then practice prostate massage?
Well, I say, if you have those kind of friends, more power to you. And I mean, they do teach those kind of classes.
Yeah.
Mostly like in San Francisco, and they do teach classes about prostate massage, and tantrikas can teach this kind of thing. Yeah. Power in community.
So, is there more that you want to say about Cialis, and particularly in regards to your practice, or so obviously, people are listening into this, they're going to probably be saying, like I have, like, where do I get it, and how much does it cost, and what do you recommend, and all that.
So the problem with Cialis is that if you get a regular prescription, it costs $30 a pill in the United States. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, and I don't know, and I don't know what this is about. This is ridiculous, So what you do is you talk to your guy friends, and people have ways of getting generics that you send away for that are like less than $2 a pill. And I just have to make it really clear that I cannot write prescriptions for the people that are listening. I can only write prescriptions for people who are my patients. And the other thing to say about my practice is that it actually, daily Cialis to me really is a miracle. And a lot of my, when I talk about getting my midlife male patients to the top of the game, the daily Cialis is a big part of that. But it really does matter how it's done. It does matter that the dosage is right, and it does matter that the dosage is high enough. And so, and then the other parts is you balance that with testosterone, if it's indicated and if it's safe for that person. And that's sort of the three parts of getting, of me getting the man totally bubbling, is the three main parts is the daily Cialis, the testosterone, and the therapeutic prostatic massage. Although I do have quite a few men who come in and they don't get any prescriptions from me. They just come in once a month or whatever to get their therapeutic prostatic massage to prevent prostate problems in general, or some of them, if people have had chronic prostatitis or pelvic pain in the past, then they need that to prevent their recurrence.
So how does someone go from being a listener on this webinar to being one of your patients? I guess that's pretty obvious. They come to your office, yeah?
Well, no, they send me an email from my website.
Oh, they send you an email from your website. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll give that information at the end, or I guess we could give it now, so we don't forget.
Yeah, it's Dr. Erica MD. So DrErikaMD.com.
Okay, and they can go on there, and there's some button that they can push that'll say, "I want to be your patient," kind of thing.
Okay, somebody's saying that they're getting it for $25 a bill generic. I have heard of it being available for a lot less than that. So you need to talk to more of your guy friends to find the special sources. I'm sorry, what were you saying, Chrisman?
Oh, you know what? I realized that I didn't quite get the answer to the question I was looking for. So, is daily Cialis simply the practice of taking Cialis every day, or is it a different drug?
No, it is. It's so traditionally you take Cialis when you think something's going to happen. You get together with your sweetie for the weekend, or
Right,
something
right,
like
right,
that.
right,
Or you're going to get
right,
lucky with your wife, maybe tonight or tomorrow night. Then you would take the Cialis,
right.
and it gives you a bigger window than Viagra. And so the thing
Mhm.
of taking it every day is it literally is. It used to be taking a smaller dose every day, but people are getting more comfortable with taking more significant doses and getting better benefits.
Okay. So it's simply the practice of taking a certain amount every day
Yes.
as like to get all those benefits that you named. So let's transition here to talking now about your upcoming book. Does that sound like a good thing to take on next?
Sure. Well, I wanted to give people, well, one of the topics that's going to be in the upcoming book that you said, Christmas is not so exciting, but kind of practical, and they can use it right now, is the Kegels. Shall we do that now?
Oh yeah.
Or is
So
that too boring?
no. It's not boring at all. I mean, it is boring, but the effects are not boring. Like a lot of the stuff, right? It's like it doesn't sound that interesting when you hear about it, but once you maybe we should describe what are the
Yeah.
benefits of
Okay.
or what are Kegels and how do they help you?
Okay. So this is, if we had a ton of time, one of the some of the topics that I'm addressing in the year-long course, and that I also address with my patients, are sexual issues, of course, like ED, erection issues, but also men, especially as they get older, often have issues with delayed orgasm. It becomes hard for them to reach ejaculatory orgasm, and so they need some information about that. And then, of course, there's a really, really hugely prevalent and big problem of something that keeps changing its name. Some people now call it rapid ejaculation. It used to be called premature ejaculation. And a lot of us sex positive people now just say coming before you want to. A guy who comes before he wants to, and it's heartbreaking. It's huge. It's so difficult, and I mean, the prevalence is like half the population, or
Mm-hmm.
and there's not a pill for it, like there's the Viagra for the ED. I mean, which also doesn't work for everybody. But so I think these topics are just really, really important to address. And even though I don't have miracle cures, I have approaches, and especially the rapid ejaculation is so multifaceted, and there have to be so many ways to try it, and probably actually the best way to address it is with a sexual surrogate. I think the association is ISTA, ISTA, International Sexual something. Somebody's going to know in the audience here. So sexual surrogacy is a really good tool to know about for some issues. Now, anyways, and so Kegels are good for all those things. And Chrisman, as we were talking before the show, he was liking Kegels as sort of like working your abs, which is like, it's not much fun, it's not very glamorous, but boy, the benefits are huge. If you have strong abs, you have a lot less back pain, and you look a lot better. I don't know that Kegels make you look better. So Kegels are, when you clench because you're holding in your bowels or you're holding in your pee. Those are the muscles for the man. For the women, it's easiest to sit on the toilet with their legs apart and stop the flow of urine and isolate them that way. And I'm not going to go into great detail about it, but I want to make a couple points about them. So you guys, everybody who's watching, do your Kegels. Start doing your Kegels.
You can do them right now as they're watching this webinar.
Try to relax. And then do some flutters, do some quick ones. Okay. Now, so guys, sometimes we love how goal-oriented men are. And so don't go overboard on them either, though. Don't do more than 100 a day unless I approve that. And the other really important thing that no one's going to tell you is, you know how guys hold a lot of tension in their shoulders? You know, you massage a guy's shoulders and they're hard as a rock. Well, men hold just as much tension, if not more, in their pelvic floor.
Mm.
And so if you're not careful, you could use your Kegels to increase that tension. So make sure that periodically while you're doing the Kegels, you make sure you totally relax them before you contract them again. And at the end, also make sure you totally relax them. So you're not walking around with, you know, that tightness all the time. But Kegels, you know, a lot of guys enjoy doing them with an erection. You know, it's much more dramatic. You can wave the flag. And it helps with ejaculatory control. It helps with better erection function. It just makes everything better down there, especially as you get older. But even for younger guys, and if you're into chi or playing with kundalini and all that, that is all based on those muscles at the base of your spine. So they are the key.
So I just did a series of courses for men about the subject, you know, of male sexuality and this book called Sex 2.0 that I wrote, and I was basically talking to them about how can they make sex better. And the biggest thing that came up as the number one problem for these guys was premature ejaculation or rapid ejaculation or coming before you want to issues. So this whole thing is like a really big topic. And you know, my course was promising them multiple orgasms. So for a man, that's like a huge deal, and it's kind of a holy grail. It's actually a little bit difficult in practice to do. But the fact is that what I've noticed from doing Kegels is you actually can get really good control. You can start to have this quite amazing control, such that I could be beyond the point of no return and return. You know, one of the downsides, though, that I've noticed is sometimes I can have an orgasm without ejaculating, but my body will say, okay, I'm done. My body will still think that I've had an ejaculation, and I'll still lose erection. And I don't know if anyone else has talked to you about in that great of detail about that issue, but I've noticed that happens sometimes. And so it's not like 100% fix this thing, but
it's a tool in your tool belt, and it's a tool to optimize awareness. I just want to come back to alert listener corrected me about the surrogate association. You can find them online. It's IPSA, IPSA, International Professional Surrogates Association. I think they're headquartered right here in San Diego, and they do amazing, amazing, amazing work. But you know what you said, Crispin, just now, I think is a really, really important point. And that is just like one of my missions is I really hate it when people make jokes about sexual dysfunctions, all of them. I just hate it. It is, you know, we're so kind in so many ways that we should be so thoughtless about who we might be talking to. You know, it just breaks my heart when people do that. And also the other thing that, I mean, I just feel like, you know, I have to stand up for these things, that I will no longer let women trash male sexuality as being simple. Men get to be just as complex. Men get to be complex too, because they are.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you for kind of bringing some more compassion into the conversation. I remember a good friend of both of ours named Pamela Madison, who also kind of really taught me that at some of the things we're where we worked together with her, and she was also very good at that. So but we have like 11 minutes left. I want to invite other people to ask more questions if you have them. We don't have a ton of time left. I'm just wanting to remind, it's actually 10 minutes. So if you do have questions, go ahead and type them in, and you can actually literally ask anything, because Erica reserves the right not to answer them.
So do you want me to talk about my other freebie information?
Yeah, do that.
Okay, so the part that I want to just be vulnerable, and I think everybody who's listening already knows this, I'm just really, really proud of my Sexy Prostate book. I think it's really good information. I think people find it useful. And the same thing with what I do in my practice, but also that men's email course, the On Top of His Game course, that it's I think it's $79 or something for the year. I realized as I was preparing for this talk with Chrisman, that my mission really is to say the things that nobody else says. And this is not to be inflammatory. This is to be more complete. You know, if everybody else is telling you to do X, Y, Z, I am not going to tell you X, Y, Z. I'm going to tell you that, you know, JKL, that nobody has mentioned before, that I just happened to discover working with my patients. And so that's the kind of information I share in the men's course. And so I'm proud of doing that. So the freebie that I wanted to tell everybody about who doesn't know about it yet is a supplement you can buy over the counter called DHEA, dihydroepiandrosterone. Not to be mistaken for DHA. That's a totally different and separate and totally different supplement. So, but DHEA is actually a hormone, and you can buy it without a prescription at Whole Foods, lots of places online. And if you don't want to go to a hormone doctor or something, and you want a little something to spruce yourself up, especially for guys, this is a great way to start. And men who are not on testosterone often will take 25 to 50 milligrams per day, and you just buy a pill. And no, I have no idea if the expensive pills are better than the cheap ones. My husband buys the cheap ones. And you take it every day. And if you have, most people have the occasional pimple, but if you start to have more pimples, then you cut down. The other interesting effect of too much is feeling hyper, like too much coffee, and emotional. And the two guys that happened to knew right away when it happened to them, but they couldn't describe it. But I realized later what it probably was. Guys are not used to feeling emotional. So too much DHA just makes you emotional, and to men that feels weird. So, and then you just
so what is the indication for wanting or needing DHA?
Okay. So DHA, it's the long-term stress hormone made by the adrenal cortex. So if you're under a lot of stress and having a hard time dealing with it, it helps you have more resilience. It actually increases testosterone in the body a little bit. And in women don't usually only take 5 to 10 milligrams per day. Women also, it actually gives them a little bit of estrogen. So it just, it gives you more energy. It gives you a more solid, grounded mood.
Okay,
but
so
it's no miracle. You know, it's one of many things.
Right. Okay, and so if someone wants DHEA or feels that they need that, then that's another thing that you provide through
Well, I educate people about it, but they just you just buy it at Whole Foods or someplace. You don't need me, or you don't need any prescription.
Got it. So they would just come to you to find out like what it is that
or to put it in a symphony of all the hormones we're doing for them.
Right, right, right. Okay. So I noticed you kind of dodged my question about another upcoming book. Maybe you just don't want to talk about an upcoming book.
Oh, you know
But
what? It was just, sorry. It was just so the men's course that I'm teaching, email course.
didn't
So that
did
basically is going to be some of that material. So it's the chapters about the different kinds of sexual dysfunction and how best to work with them, how to optimize your sexual function with hormones, prescription as well as over-the-counter hormones, and things you can do to have better sex with your partner, things you can do to have better sex with yourself. So I basically want to write up what I do for men in my practice, other than the prescribing.
Well, that's a really, really smart way of writing a book, I have to say, and it's a way that I've never actually heard of anyone else writing a book, which is the JKL again, right? You're providing the unknown letters.
Right. Nice.
Yeah. Well, I have to say that really the most of what I know originates with you. You know, like in terms of sexuality, like you know, it's I may have experienced it, you know, with Catherine, but I think the original possibility of it being the case originates with you. So many things over the years that have come that way, and so I just want to acknowledge you as being the person in my life that has provided the JKL that I didn't know in so many different ways, and I know that anyone who is lucky enough to be on your email list or buy your books or be your friend, they get all this amazing stuff, or be your patient. They get all this amazing information because you are a collector of information besides a great explorer and adventurer in the world, and which is another, I think, highly unusual thing for a doctor. I mean, you're kind of most doctors get their information from reading medical journals or something, but you have like real on the ground, boots on the ground experience with all this stuff. And it's quite amazing. And so anything you want to say in our last couple of minutes here?
Yes, I'm going to say something very inflammatory that guys don't want to hear.
Okay, great.
Last minute, which is I get questions about what can men do to have better sex with their partners, or more sex with their partners, especially, you know, if both people are middle-aged and older and have been together for a long time. And my current hypothesis is a big thing that's lacking. So a really good thing to do would be for the guys to make a giant effort to learn more sexual skills and keep learning more sexual skills. And what I say is, you know, and this is from non-porn sites.
Right.
You know, so have your fun online, but also spend some of the time on websites or with books where you learn about, and one will lead you to another. You can start with mine and really make that a serious study. You know, I mean, what's more important in your life? So you might as well start learning and keep learning. And the orgasmic meditation that is taught by One Taste is just absolutely amazing. And Nicole English is teaching it here in Santa Barbara. And anybody English, INGLISH, I think is how she spells it. Right. She is an amazing teacher, and anybody who's in this area needs to pounce on her because she is good and she's available, and she doesn't charge that much yet.
Cool. Yeah. And I believe that One Taste also does, well, there are other places too, obviously. So, okay, great. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Erica, for being here today on Writer's Repartee on the show. Really appreciate it. And as usual, it was stimulating and amazing and enjoyable and informative. So,
And people can email me with questions. Thank you so much, Chrisman.
yeah, great talking to you, Erica.
Okay, bye.
Bye, everyone.